It's major week, PGA Championship week. A lot of talk about the PGA versus LIV again. We'll have that. We'll be discussing our trip to Tulsa for the LIV event, as well as previewing this week's PGA Championship at Oak Hill. Hasn't been there in 10 years. So we're going to give you guys the full preview, break down our picks for this major championship. And it's all brought to you by Pins and Aces. We got the Pins hats on. I do, at least. We got the Pins bag over here, Pins hats out in front of us. They are our favorite golf company in the world. They have the liquor stick, which we've got over to Mitchell's right. We take shots out of the liquor stick during every single round of golf we play. They've got awesome custom head covers. Every order you place over $50, you get a free ball marker. And they do have the best
ball markers are awesome.
They have the best ball markers in the game. My personal favorite is the Ritz Cracker. It's so realistic, and they do such a good job of making.
Didn't you try to bite it once?
I did, and it didn't do well. Now I got a chipped tooth. So don't bite the ball markers. Just use them on the green. Pinsandaces.com, promo code BDE. They've got the liquor stick. They've got the beer sleeves. They sponsor all of our tournaments here in Denver, Phoenix, and upcoming in Chicago. So make sure you check them out. That's pinsandaces.com, promo code BDE for 15% off your entire order. All right, let's tee it up. We've made it to another major. It's crazy how close they are together now. It felt like we had so much time between the Masters and the Open Championship. Or
the US Open.
Yeah,
the US Open.
Open Championship's
Well,
the
the
last
PGA,
one.
so the PGA used to be in August.
Right.
Yeah, so now it's just a much more condensed major schedule, which is fun when we're in it, but it sucks when it's 8 months of no majors. So we just got to enjoy it while we've got it. I think with what we saw at the Masters, on top of the golf that's transpired since the Masters, on the LIV Tour and on the PGA Tour, I think it's going to make for probably even a more exciting finish, I would say, than the Masters.
Oh, yeah. I think...
Which isn't tough to do. But.
No. And we're just hoping for... we're going to be live on Sunday, just hoping for a close event.
Maybe a playoff. We have yet to get a playoff in a major.
Since the last year's PGA.
Oh.
Since Mito Pereira and Justin Thomas and Will Zalatoris went at it.
Yes, true.
So it's been a full calendar year of majors. But before we get too much into that and get into the PGA Championship, we're going to talk about LIV Tulsa. What a time.
I did... Let me preface it with this. I think that I went into it with the idea of I was going to be underwhelmed, and I was actually very impressed. Like, I thought it was very well put together, very well run. And honestly, it definitely had a different feel than a PGA Tour event. Like, it did not feel like a tour event, but I think it was a lot more fun than a tour event. Would you agree?
If I had to go to one event or another, and it wasn't a major championship with all these guys in the field, like taking the majors out of it, just going to the AT&T Byron Nelson or going to LIV Tulsa, I guarantee you it's a better fan experience to go to a LIV event. Not sorry, but
no,
it is.
1,000%. I mean, so what did we hear the statistics where there was on Friday there was 36,000 people at LIV Tulsa and there was 12,000 people at the Byron Nelson. So I think everybody kind of, whether you like it or not, I think there's enough people that are curious about it in order to go. And I think once they get people through the gates, everybody loves it. Like, I can't tell you how many people I saw with LIV gear on. Rippers
GC on Mitchell's hat up there.
Yeah, so we basically bought a bunch of Rippers stuff because our boy Cam Smith is the captain of the Rippers. And the whole team concept, like on TV, and when I heard about it, it didn't really stick for me. But when you're there and like the merch makes it feel more real, and like all those guys are all wearing like team merch, not team merch, but like team polos and team hats, like it feels like a very real thing. And I mean, they are playing for very real money. Like, they're not playing for world ranking points. You know, that's been a whole conversation, but they're playing for huge money. And so I definitely think, like a lot of these guys say, or a lot of people have said these guys don't care. They definitely care. Like, that you can tell the way those guys carry themselves, it's no different in terms of the way the guys play and act and carry their game. It's no different than the PGA Tour by any means. It's not like they're just cashing it in. You know what I mean? They're playing hard.
Right. And getting into that specifically, it's not necessarily that it's the top end of both tours is very much equal on a scale.
I would honestly say that LIV is more top. It's got more top players on the top end than the PGA Tour does.
Yeah, it would be great to have like a top 10 of each tour, like Ryder Cup style, like singles.
That's immediately what kind of the conversation was when the LIV Tour came out was we should have like a Ryder Cup style LIV versus PGA Tour. And I think, in all honesty, like, and what else is funny too is Ryan Koenigsberg, absolutely hates LIV. Like, he wants every player to get buried every week. He doesn't want them to win anything. But I actually think I would take LIV right now in a Ryder Cup style format versus the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I think that like the top end talent, we had a playoff in the LIV this weekend, and then we'll get to the Byron Nelson in a little bit. But talking about the LIV event, we had a 3-player playoff going in, and we had the top 3 at the leaderboard in that playoff was Dustin Johnson, Cameron Smith, Brandon Grace.
Huge names.
At the PGA Tour going into Sunday, it was Siwoo Kim, Austin Eckroat, and Zhang Du.
Who even is that third guy?
Exactly.
Like, yeah, and no offense to him. Obviously, he's a very good player, but what the fuck? Like, the PGA Tour has gotten so much less deep because of the LIV Tour. And it's still deep, but I'm talking about with like recognizable names. There's so many less recognizable names, especially on these off weeks before majors. I would have rather watched the LIV Tour even on TV than the PGA Tour event this week. And I would say that's more of an indictment on the PGA Tour because they don't have enough big names in every single tournament to keep people's attention. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the LIV events are somewhere in between they're way better than a mediocre PGA Tour event. They're not necessarily quite an elevated tour event, I would say.
No.
I would say those are similar, but you know, how many of those do we have? 13, and there's 40 plus weeks.
Yeah.
So there's definitely, LIV definitely takes the cake above a tournament like this weekend.
Above your average PGA Tour.
And I think other than, I guess there was we were there, so we didn't see it, but I guess there was a TV gaffe, and they went to
Gilmore Girls or some bullshit.
Yeah, on the CW where LIV is televised.
Yeah,
but
they caught a bunch of flack for that. But what I will say is that anybody that wants to shit talk LIV because of that, the PGA Tour has the same issue. They've dropped coverage of playoffs before. Their entire commercial scene is a joke. They play about 30 minutes worth of every hour of gameplay. There's about 30 minutes worth of commercials. So
well, and they've got the playing through now where they play a commercial and have muted PGA Tour on the other side, and you can see it.
Yeah,
but it's like that's really another time where you just tune out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're watching the golf shots, but you're hearing the commercial.
Yeah.
So the announcing isn't great. I think another thing that from a TV experience, like, I just love David Faraday. So the fact that he's with LIV now, it's worth a listen for sure. I mean, it just completely changed my perspective, and I think that's it's a lot of people didn't agree with us going. Like, we had a few people on Twitter like, why are you doing this?
Yeah,
like, because we're into professional golf, and this is the highest level of professional golf being played in the world this week.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Why wouldn't we go?
Yeah, and I think LIV, whether indirectly or directly, picked this weekend. I think Tulsa, the LIV Tour is almost like an expansion. I mean, it is like an expansion team in another sport. Like, do you want to pick a city that has a bunch of people that don't get to see a ton, or you want to pick a city that's saturated with everything? And Byron Nelson was at TPC Craig Ranch, which was Dallas.
I think it's San Antonio.
San Antonio. So somewhere in that area, bigger city. LIV goes to Tulsa,
and there was so much Oklahoma, like Oklahoma State, Boomer Sooner shit. Like, there was a lot of, like you said, local people that don't. I mean, they got the PGA last year, funny enough, but they don't have a lot of professional sports. Like, whether you like it or not, a lot of people are just sports fans and they want to go watch this shit live. And so they had a great turnout.
Yeah, like looking at like Oklahoma City Thunder, they're not a great basketball team. Great crowds, especially when they were good, even really like bomb crowds.
People
places
like sports everywhere.
Places like Portland, Seattle now getting multiple teams and multiple expansion
The
teams.
Jazz with only one team in their whole. Well, do they have an MLS team? The Salt Lake City?
Yeah. Real Salt Lake, I believe.
Okay.
Not a big soccer guy, but
No, me neither.
But yeah, these smaller places, like they took advantage of a perfect weekend. Scotty Scheffler was playing in the Byron Nelson, and then it was a bunch of turds and a guy that won that we'll get to. But overall, it was just a big turd of an event, and LIV took advantage by going to, unfortunately, we'll get into the course conditions here in a sec, but I guess people are saying it's like the fourth best course in Tulsa. That could have been a little bit of an exaggeration. I know for sure where they had the PGA Championship last year is A1,
Better,
the best spot. But
Southern Hills.
I don't know if you could go from hosting a PGA Championship to hosting a LIV event. I don't know what that looked like on the back end when Norman or whoever's going to these people.
Yeah.
But Cedar Ridge, I liked the golf course. Let's get into that. The golf course specifically was pure, dude.
It was very pure.
Denver Country Club, place we've played an almost not inner city, but
very Parkland style.
Exactly.
Like on a square piece of property, a bunch of trees. Pretty cool course mapping. Like, it wasn't your generic down and back. Like, there was a lot of, twists and turns throughout. There's a lot of dog legs, a lot of massive old trees. Like, I actually really liked the course. There was a lot of spots that were dead that I think just hadn't come back yet this year. And so their maintenance team caught a lot of shit for that. But overall, I didn't really see it in any spots that were that penal. I could be wrong because we were watching it live, not on TV. So we didn't see every single fairway. We just saw what we saw in front of us. But it was a lot of like tee boxes and like, stuff like that. But overall, I thought the course was awesome. Like, I would definitely go play there. Like, the clubhouse was cool. It felt like a big championship style golf course. Like, it wasn't your rinky dink like Muni. There was plenty of room for all the tents, for everything. So I thought it was a really cool course, and like clearly it produced a good finish down the stretch on Sunday. So
yeah, and let's get into the other stuff you talked about going around the golf course. So first, let's hop on. You got the hat on, got the Ripper GC hat on.
Yeah.
The merch tent was very small, and we're just comparing this to let's just compare it to the last tour event. So we went to Waste Management.
Yeah.
Probably about a quarter of the size.
Yeah.
But the thing that's cool about it is you're buying either, like, there was no real Cedar Ridge stuff. Now,
No.
like, we didn't venture into the Cedar Ridge Pro Shop or over towards that area. I don't think we could have gone in there anyway.
I was going to say, I think that's off limits.
But it's kind of surprising that Cedar Ridge didn't want to sell any of their gear specifically, unless maybe they did and we just missed it. But the LIV tent was a lot smaller. They had people.
It was packed, though.
Yeah, they had people regulating whether or not you can go in and out. So many in, so many out.
Yeah.
But the team aspect and the merch of the team aspect, they all had their own little like lockers of areas where you could buy, a Ripper towel, hat, polo, hoodie, flag.
Yeah.
And each team, like, you could, it's like a pick your player. It's like almost like a fantasy. Yeah.
It's a very cool branding thing. Like I said, at first I was kind of out on the team concept, but I think from an apparel standpoint, it's badass. Like, I don't even necessarily love the Rippers logo. There's definitely better logos than this, but if you really like a player, you buy the gear of the team he's affiliated with. So like, the Range Goats have a super cool logo.
Range Goats have by far the best logo out there on the LIV Tour.
I think the Majestics are pretty cool too. The Cliques are lame. What's a couple other ones that are...
Four Aces is just very Travis Matthew, very lame.
See, I think it's more like Titleist FootJoy-ish.
Well,
like,
yeah, that's all kind of in that same... Like, Patrick Cantlay would be on the Four Aces. Dustin Johnson.
Exactly.
He kind of breaks the mold, but from a looks standpoint, doesn't.
Yeah,
very clean cut beard, fucking
like the Yankees of the LIV Tour.
Right.
Yeah. So
everybody knows the Four Aces according to Bubba Watson's son.
What team is Bubba Watson on?
He's Range Goats.
Oh, okay. Yes, he's Range Goats.
And that's why it's unfortunate that he is on the Range Goats, because I didn't have any need to buy anything Range Goats related that supports Bubba Watson.
Yeah.
Still not a big fan.
No,
I
I don't think I've ever been a big fan, and I never will be. But overall, we followed the Cam Smith, but was it Bubba, Cam, and Bryson group just because of Cam. Otherwise, probably two of our least favorite players. But they all birdied the first hole we watched. They were like all dialed in. They all played pretty damn good. And like you just look at that leaderboard on Sunday, there was a dozen guys that you knew their name at the top of that leaderboard on Sunday. Like that had to, and I'm not saying it's that way every week for LIV. And I also, another advantage I think they have, not an advantage necessarily, but doing a smaller amount of events makes them seem more important. You know what I mean? It's not every single weekend. Because with the PGA Tour, you know, if there's a tournament you don't like or not a lot of big names, you're like, oh, there's always next week. You know what I mean? But with the LIV, there's only a certain amount of events to the point where it's probably worth watching, you know?
Yeah. Well, and you know who's going to play. That's another like underrated part of LIV. Yes, there's only 48 players, but you know who you're going to see.
You can show up and you know you're going to see those
you can
guys.
book that months in advance, and you know, barring an injury, which,
There's no load management on the LIV Tour.
No, they're playing every single event, and you know you're going to see the full team. So speaking to the top 10, we had Dustin Johnson, who won in a playoff after a couple hour delay. The weather there is
rain delay.
Tulsa's awful weather-wise. I like the city, but
I was leaking.
It was hot.
I was severely hungover. What was it, Saturday morning?
Friday morning.
Friday morning. We missed our tee time. That's a bad look on us.
Yeah, we did call. I called 30 minutes before.
Oh, really?
I called, but we did not make it.
Out in all my clothes.
And then we did make it to a 9 o'clock tee time.
Yeah.
At South Lakes in Jenks, USA. It was super interesting. This course, they had USA on their flags, not like Oklahoma. So maybe there's an issue there. Maybe Jenks is unaffiliated.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're looking for a team to join.
No, but looking at the LIV leaderboard, Dustin Johnson, Cameron Smith, Brandon Grace, Harold Varner, Eugenia Chachara.
Okay, that's one name we don't recognize.
From Spain. Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, Dean Burmeister, Joaquin Niemann, Bubba Watson. That's the top 10.
That's a lot of big names.
That's 8 out of 10 household, 7 out of 10 household names, and Harold Varner if you follow golf. 6 maybe Brendan Grace
and Joaquin Niemann.
No, Joaquin Niemann's a guy.
You think he's
after he won the Genesis, he's a household name in golf.
I would say so, but I think there might be a few people that still don't know who he is. Overall, I think a lot more people know who he is than Austin Eckroat, and that dude almost won on the PGA Tour this week. And honestly, I think the mid-level PGA Tour guys are another group of players that are benefiting from this LIV thing. Because overall, there's more money. There's less good players. There's still very good players, but there's less elite players playing in each event. And guys like Austin Eckroat and those smaller name dudes, no-name dudes, can go out and he probably made $1 million this weekend or close to it, you know? So I think it's doing a lot of golfers actually good. And that was, I forget who I was having the conversation with, but they were like, did the PGA Tour ever make this much money? And I was like, no, they only started paying that much when the LIV Tour came around. You know what I mean? So you can't tell me the PGA Tour, whether you stayed on it or whether you left, everybody's making more money from this. So it's got to be beneficial. And I mean, you hate to talk about money, but that's why these guys are out there doing it. Like everybody on the PGA Tour, besides the guys that have already made $100-200 million. And I mean, look at Phil. He's one of the highest career earners in golf history. He almost went out and won the Masters. So I think the whole kind of like, and it was a new thing at first, so everybody's going to dislike it and whatever. But I think it's becoming more normal, and I actually think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, well, it's definitely about money. If you're listening to this in your car right now driving to work, you're not going to work because you fucking like going to work.
Yeah.
You're going to work because you like money and you like to live and you like to, do things in your free time with the money that you make going to work. So that's a thing where it's just, that's how it is. And so these guys are making money doing what they love doing, playing golf, or don't love doing, but are really good at. And that's up to debate. But the just overall idea that this is like a clown show.
I think that's kind of been like put to bed at this point.
Exactly. And definitely in our minds personally. Now, everybody else, if you go attend a LIV event, you'll know. But let's talk about a few other things. First, my favorite thing about the whole weekend, the music constantly playing is
cool.
a vibe.
Yeah. And it's not super loud. It's not like in your face. I mean, depending on where you stand with the speakers, but just to have like continuous like background music going was awesome. I loved it. Like, yes, I definitely grade that as an A+ on the vibe scale.
Yeah, vibes are immaculate at LIV. The fan engagement area. So they had beanbags, simulators, they had a chipping game, they had a putting game, they had a ball pit for kids, they had face painting. Like,
they had food
it sounds
trucks.
carnival-y, but like people bring their kids to these events. Like,
yeah.
I'm already excited to bring my future kid to a golf event because they're chill. They're, you don't have to like put headphones on them and be in tight areas and
screaming
worrying about
yeah.
people spilling beers on you. You can just walk around.
You get to be out in the sunshine.
Yeah. And it's just a great event to attend.
They
and
even had a dude, the dude roping.
Yeah, there was some
just a
dude
dude
just roping himself. I don't know how much he got paid to just lasso around his fucking head for hours, but he was
I thought
doing
it was kind of cool. It added a little Tulsa spice to
little
it.
down home feel.
Yeah.
One downside, so they did have concession stands, which were they called it a Wagyu hot dog. I tried it. It's not really. It's just you just throw Wagyu on something when you want to make it expensive.
You just make double it in price.
Yeah, but the other concession area in the fan engagement zone, if you will, where there's also beanbags, which was pretty cool.
With like a big screen.
Big screen
kind of in front
TV
of it
you could
that
chill and watch. They had a bunch of food trucks, probably like 8 to 10. But like the food trucks were so overwhelmed because there was so many people, and there was some reports out here and there. Oh, it's empty. Can tell you this, it wasn't empty.
No,
we've been to the Waste Management, which is the most attended event in PGA Tour history. And then we've been to LIV, and we've been to some PGA Tour events here, like the BMW here in Colorado. We've been to Corn Ferry Tour events. I mean, obviously blows that out of the water.
Yeah.
But no, the reports that it wasn't very busy or it was like kind of dead. It was complete nonsense.
It just goes to show you that everybody has their narratives. There's PGA Tour truthers out there that no matter what LIV does, they're going to hate on it, and vice versa. There's going to be people that defend LIV no matter what they do. So it's kind of like pick your poison. But yeah, there was a lot of PGA Tour people throwing around, oh, there's nobody there, and that was just flat out false. Like, I thought it was a great fan atmosphere. I think they even said that they had projected like 10 to 15,000 people day one, and they got 36,000 people. So I wouldn't say I wouldn't say the setup overall was overwhelmed. Like the food trucks were overwhelmed, maybe a few of the concessions, because they just flat out did not anticipate that many people being there. But overall, I thought it was very well run. Like there was nothing about it where I'm like, oh, that
like it never felt Fire Festy to me.
No, not exactly.
Which is what you think of when you're just not going.
When you see Twitter, when you see all the talking heads talking about, yeah, exactly. That was perfectly put. Like you feel like you're walking into a shit show, and it's just a golf tournament. Like it's just well put together and
just smaller field, which the pace of play was pretty solid. Let's talk about the shotgun start. I love that.
I thought it was pretty cool.
They had like a countdown, which if you're not following us,
fucking parachuting in.
If you're not following us on TikTok, make sure you do. We'll have a recap of the whole week. We do have we did post some other stuff of Mitchell thinking he could be on the LIV tour, but on our TikTok we're gonna have kind of a recap of what the day looked like, how many people were there, the food, all that stuff. So make sure you're following along with that, and on Instagram at Big Drive Energy Pod. But the parachuters were awesome. It felt like a football game. They played Thunder, which was Thunderstruck, which like if you're a Denver Broncos fan, which we grew up to be, peak.
I felt like I leaned over and told you, I was like, I feel like we're at a Broncos game right now. Like, it was fucking cool.
Yeah, they had Thunderstruck on. They had a countdown, all the players in their carts, which was cool. You got to see all the players take their carts out to their holes right next to you. You can stand right next to the sidewalk. There was really, there was cool, like players were signing autographs. The range had music. Everybody was warming up. A house burned down. That was crazy.
That was wild. Somebody partied a little too fucking hard.
Yes, there was a house right next to the practice putting green, and that straight up burned to the ground.
Hopefully it wasn't an Airbnb.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody comes back and Dustin Johnson's ended up tearing up the Airbnb off the practice green. Another crazy thing we saw was Phil Mickelson hit a dude in the arm, like hard.
On the fly.
And his arm had a giant welt on it, and the dude's like standing, like this guy's just standing there waiting for Phil to go from 17 to 18, and he's like standing there with his like arm above his shoulder, and I'm like, dude, what?
His shirt above his shoulder.
His arm above his shoulder would be pretty fucking impressive. But no, he had a shirt above his shoulder. I'm like, dude, is this guy trying to get tan? It's only one arm. What are you doing? And then I looked, and he just had this massive welt, and so he goes up and stops Phil. He's like, hey, your ball hit me, and that's why I was in the fairway. And Phil just goes, oh, I was wondering what that hit.
And he literally just gave him the ball that hit him.
Yeah, he's like, here's your bullet, sir.
He wanted a glove, and he got a ball. But Phil still seems like, he doesn't seem like the evil villain that everybody puts him out to be. Like, he still seemed like Phil Mickelson, just LIV Tour edition Phil Mickelson.
Yeah, exactly. So last thing, what did you think about the shorts? I got asked this, and then this is not good investigative journalism. That's why I'm not a big J journalist. But do they have to wear shorts, or do you think they just
Joaquin Neiman wore pants?
Oh, did he?
If you would have just fucking kept your eyes open,
well,
you would have.
I had a couple of those Greg Norman caddies, 9% alcohol. He sells his own drinks at his own golf tournament. Fucking genius.
That's
absolute
a monopoly.
Power move. Fucking puts the hog in Hogwarts. Greg Norman. But
yeah, Spencer got a little tatered.
So I
did
not
another time throughout the trip.
I did not notice that
but
Joaquin was wearing pants.
you can wear pants. I think just when it's 85 and 90% humidity, I think you just choose to wear shorts.
I had pants on,
which should be you're an idiot. Touch on one other thing. We went to the casino both nights. I got rocked at Hard Rock. I put the rock in Hard Rock because I got fucking tatered by the tables. Spencer didn't do that well, other than an $820 slot machine.
Yeah, shout out to the piggy slots over at Indian River.
It wasn't Indian River.
That was the casino.
It wasn't called Indian River.
It was called something Wind River, River Wind.
Yeah, something
No,
like
it was
that.
Indian River, dude.
I guarantee you it wasn't.
Look that up. I'll fucking talk for a minute. You look it up. So shout out to the piggy slots at Indian River, to be determined on the name here. For the $850 win on my
River Spirit.
River Spirit. Damn it. Fucking Indian River. Close. River Spirit. Shout out to that place. It was awesome.
It was very cool.
Somebody asked me like what we did, and I was like, we were either in a casino, in a steakhouse, or at the golf tournament. And somebody goes, what else do you need? And I was like, you're exactly fucking right.
No.
Not a thing.
We lived the dream for 2.5 days.
In Tulsa, Oklahoma.
In Tulsa.
It wasn't actually
underrated
as bad.
place. Underrated, not shitty place.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's cool, but it doesn't suck for what you think it is.
If you're doing a bachelor party on a budget and you like golf and you like casinos, don't go to Vegas, go to Tulsa, Oklahoma.
It's crazy.
Good time.
It sounds crazy, but it's like the Riverwind Casino. Did I say that right?
Wind River.
Whatever. Who cares? That was a very cool casino on the river, partially why it's named that. But then there's a lot of great golf right around there, some good food. And not really expensive stuff by any means. Like the golf wasn't expensive. The casino was expensive, so that's kind of up to you how you want to do that.
That's an optional thing.
Yeah.
You do have to. One thing that we have realized over the days of being over 21 and actually allowed to go into casinos is we're spoiled in Colorado where we grew up because
we get free drinks.
Every casino is free drinks, and that's how it is in Vegas.
And then we don't have to pay an ante.
Yeah, and you go somewhere else. And you're like, dude, like I just lost a $20 hand of blackjack, and she just brought me a $12 Coors Light. That was a $35 hand after you tip of blackjack. Versus like, oh, I can just drink, I can lose or win, be even, but actually be up because I got free drinks.
And I guarantee you, those casinos that give away alcohol make more money and I don't necessarily. I think it might be a law thing versus a decision by the casinos, but you would definitely choose a casino 10 times out of 10 that serves free booze. And there's also an ante, which for those of you who don't know, that we've only found it in Minnesota and Oklahoma in all the places we've been. So not very many places, but you basically have to pay at the Hard Rock. We pay 50 cents a hand at blackjack and $1 a roll every roll at the craps table. Not every time it switched rolls, every come out roll, so not every single roll. But yeah, it adds up over the night when you're standing at the table for 3-4 hours. You know, that's 50, 60, 70, 80 bucks out of your pocket. So yeah, I wouldn't call the casinos elite, but a casino's kind of like pizza. Even if it's not very good, it's still pretty good.
Yeah, and it gets the job done, right?
Yeah.
Looks like a casino, smells like a casino. You could smoke inside there.
The
which is
Hard
still
Rock,
lit.
yeah, it's definitely a little bit of the Wild Wild West out there. Like the Hard Rock was a little ghetto. It wasn't my favorite casino I've ever been to. The Wind River Casino was very nice. So.
Yeah, it was much better and much more lit.
Well,
not literally, but figuratively. No, literally lit, not figuratively lit.
The Hard Rock felt like very smoky and like dark and kind of the place where all the locals go and like hang out.
Yeah, but we did find a place to watch our Nuggets take the Suns down. Game 6 felt great.
Yeah,
we enjoyed it. And moving on to the Western Conference Finals, our Denver Nuggets. We love to see it. All right, we are going to get into the AT&T Byron Nelson, because there was another professional event this week.
I think we spent about 5 minutes on this.
All right, 5 minutes. I'll set the timer, and we can go.
Scotty Scheffler, we talked about it last week. Kind of embarrassing he didn't win. I'm kind of embarrassed for the guy. He's that just goes to show you, like I was kind of kidding, but in all seriousness, Tiger never loses an event like that in his prime.
Oh, now we're comparing him to Tiger Woods, huh?
It's not a comparison, but it was never a comparison, and I'm just telling you that's part of the reason why it's not. Like, Tiger wins that event 10 times out of 10 with that strength of field up against him. And, I mean, Jason Day is very capable. Like, he showed that this week, winning for the first time in, 6 years?
Yeah, I think it was like 1,700 days or something like that. So that would check out.
Yeah, I think that sounds
math
about like...
pretty much checks out.
Yeah, if I'm mathing correctly, it sounds like about 6 years. So that pretty much writes him off for this week. Like he's
just unfortunate for him. Because, well, I'm pissed off because of the fact that I've bet on Jason Day like 5 times in the last like 6 to 7 weeks, and he's gotten a few top 10s for me for sure. But he has not won. And now he goes.
Now you don't bet on him and he wins.
Yeah, you can't bet on him this week at the PGA Championship. No. He's already won here, or won the PGA Championship.
But he's past his prime. He's not equipped.
You think he's just fully cooked?
Yeah,
major championship wise.
Not fully cooked. I think he could compete. I don't think he'll ever win another one. He's not the kind of dude. I mean, did you see how big of a deal it was for him to win this like one-off tour event? Like, I don't see him all of a sudden competing in a major.
Right. Now, it is funny because it's like he won his first event in 5 years, 105 starts since the 2018 Wells Fargo, so right around the same time of the year that he's got this little May going on. This is his month of the year. But he did shoot 62 the last day. But it's funny because you're like, oh, he shot 62 to hold off Austin Eckroat and Siwoo Kim. And you're like, eh.
Yeah, Siwoo Kim's been around for a bit, but Eckroat's really nobody. Scheffler kind of fell off on Sunday. He was up there. I think he was tied for the lead at one point, like middle of the back nine. So
that's what's shocking to me that he didn't win it.
He gave it up. Yeah,
you would think he would have that like boa constrictor, just game over,
just seeing red, like end it now.
Yep.
Like remove yourself from the field, 2-3 shots, and I still think. I mean, we'll get into our ideas about the PGA, but I don't know if maybe a little bit of the shine is worn off on Scotty Scheffler. Is it too early to say that, or is he just a major hunter? Is he just like is he a Brooks Koepka? Like now that he's won so many regular tour events in the last 2 years, is he like, I need to focus on the majors?
That very well could be, but he's like in majors, maybe players, and now the elevated events though I think brings that up for him as well.
For sure.
Like I feel like that's much more important to him and much more important to guys on tour that they have these 13 like mini majors, if you will.
Yeah.
That they can go out and win and make, Wyndham made 3.6. That's more than anybody would have made it any golf tournament last year.
Yeah.
In a 1 year span. So I do think the PGA Tour has done themselves some good having those little elevated events, because they end up showing out like where there's Rahm, Scheffler, Rory, Homa, Finau, all
Maybe
those guys.
not Rory. He likes to take a week or two off here and there.
Yeah, here and there. But yeah, like when you have guys like I think the PGA Tour is actually thrilled that a guy like Jason Day won it. That added to the fact that, like, okay, we had a bona fide. He was a star, maybe close to a superstar at some point.
Yeah,
win this event versus like an Eckroat, and now Eckroat's a rookie, but that would have really dove this event even lower on people's minds if Austin Eckroat or Marty Dew, this dude from China who lives right like close to it's his home course.
Oh,
TPC Craig Ranch is his home course.
So this was like his Super Bowl.
Yeah, and he almost scored a touchdown in the last minute.
Which is smart. Like, if you're a lower level guy, why don't you focus on one tour stop, get a really high finish, if not win it, and that can guarantee you 2 years of, you could shit the bed the rest of the entire PGA Tour season, still have 2-year exemption, still make that winning money. Like, that's very smart on his part, so I don't blame him. Also, Texas, you don't pay any state tax. You don't pay income tax.
I wonder do they pay it in the state that they win it in?
I think you do. That's why Taylor Gooch got hosed at the LIV event, because where were they playing it? We should have. I was thinking of Gooch for something else. But where was it, in Singapore? Was that the last LIV event was in Singapore?
I thought it was Adelaide in Australia.
Oh, yes, that's where it was. It was in Australia. He won $4 million. He paid $2 million in taxes in Australia.
Yeah, it's like winning an event in California. That 3.6 turns into a swift 1.5.
Yeah, what a fucking joke.
$2 million essentially.
Yeah.
Here's another interesting thing from this weekend from the Byron Nelson.
We gotta almost be done with this.
Well, this is not semi-golf related. So AT&T will no longer sponsor the Byron Nelson.
Oh, yes.
So now this is adding to that list of the Honda is no longer the Honda Classic. Now AT&T Byron Nelson is going to be looking for a new sponsor. And do you know who's looking to hop in there?
Who was it?
Raytheon.
And they sell
missiles to Saudi Arabia.
And so Jay Monahan kind of had to he was this close to signing a deal with Raytheon to make them the title sponsor, and then cut it off last minute because he realized how much of a dumbass will I look like if I do this? Talk about hypocritical.
Yeah, but at least he figured that out.
Had
at
the
least
presence of mind.
Yeah, he talked to his people. Have my people talk to your people, and figure that out, because that could have initially pushed more tour players to LIV.
Oh, for sure.
Or had them be like, okay, well, I'm weighing my options here. Here's this payment. Here's this payment. This group is backed by this. Oh, so if are they not going to play in the Byron Nelson?
Yeah.
Going forward, are they going to boycott the Byron Nelson, or are they just not going to play on the PGA Tour?
It's just dumb in general. It's just so. I mean, even when we talked to Vince India a couple months back, he's like, Monahan's an idiot. He's a talking head. I don't think he really knows what he's doing. He just has people around him, I guess, which is good for him, that are the optics are bad on this.
Yeah, well, and Phil Mickelson's obviously the most outspoken on Jay Monahan, but there's multiple guys, and even guys that are even on tour, they can't, you don't talk shit about your CEO when everything is on a mic. Love you, Brandon Spano. But when it's not on a mic and behind their back, I guarantee you Jay Monahan's not loved by a lot of
he's
players.
not well liked.
And he's now getting spoken out to by LIV players that feel that they don't care.
Yeah, 100%.
And I was tweeting, it's a funny little note here, I was tweeting about Dustin Johnson winning LIV Tulsa, and his Twitter handle is still D Johnson PGA, which is pretty objectively hilarious.
I wonder if somebody took the D Johnson LIV and held it hostage.
They want a attorney payout.
Yeah, exactly. I want 10 or 20 grand for this handle. Or maybe just Dustin Johnson thinks this is a 3-5 year stop, and then he's going to try to make his way back to the PGA Tour. So,
well, do you think that that's going to be a thing where they're going to be able to do that? I don't see.
I've heard with the contracts they won't be able to. I think there's some sort of terms to the contract where their buyout, like I think Brooks Koepka's buyout, if he wanted to leave LIV and go back to the PGA Tour, is like $200 million or some insane shit like that. Which obviously, if they have a good lawyer, they know that before they sign the contract. If they have a good agent, so it's definitely a tough, easy to get into, tough to get out of type of thing.
Yeah, well, and you were who were you talking about earlier from the LIV Tour winning?
Taylor Gooch.
Gooch. Speaking of Gooch,
yes, that's what I was hoping for. A little Manscaped
taint, whichever way you want to look at it. Apparently, it's also now called an envelope, according to you, which pretty good.
My taint envelope. That's my new name for taint.
The Manscaped 4.0 got me looking so fresh. So if you guys can see, I don't know if you can see on the YouTube, got the man bun going, but got the fresh beard for today. My Western Conference Finals beard. Western Conference Finals.
It looks like you're ready to start a fight with a Lakers fan.
Oh, it's 100% on.
I'm nervous for that.
After a few shots of Rakia, no one in a Lakers jersey is safe, including the people sitting next to us, behind us, in front of us, whatever. I just hope we dominate and I don't have to worry about it. But you can head over to manscaped.com, get the crop mop. How many times do we use that in Tulsa?
So much.
We ran out of I brought a 6-pack. We used 2 a day.
If you live anywhere with slight humidity and you're a thick boy like myself, those thighs start rubbing together. They start singing. It is not a good time. So you get a little lubrication down there. You're so much better.
You're good for the entire day.
It felt like I'd almost showered my lower half of my body in a good way. Like it just like cleaned me. Yeah, I was ready to rock.
And they've got the whole 4.0 package that comes with the razor, the new razor, comes with the charger. Plug that baby in. You've got multiple different levels for hitting it close to your ears, close to your beard, close to your your gooch. Essentially, it just feels weird to say that. Like, I know it's a thing, but it does feel weird to say that. But you can, and I've never cut myself. Never once cut myself with a Manscaped razor. So head over to manscaped.com, use that promo code DNVR, and you are saving 20% on your entire order and getting free shipping. So 20% off your entire order plus getting free shipping at Manscaped. Trim everything that you need to trim because summer is certainly coming up. It's getting hot. It's about time for everything to, I'm going to keep the beard. It's because it's my playoff beard and I like it. But, if you need to trim around your face, trim around your balls, do it with Manscaped. Promo code DNVR for 20% off.
Or lady balls.
Yeah, we won't get into that.
That's a metaphorical thing, not a literal
cool.
thing.
Love that.
Ladies can use it too. It's for everybody.
Yeah. Before we give you guys our picks on the Draftkings Sportsbook, we want to tell you guys about the Draftkings Sportsbook. And when you guys use code DNVR, you can get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you make a $5 bet. I'm going to be same game parlaying the shit out of the Nuggets game tonight. Absolute,
every night you send me a same game parlay.
Yeah, there's boosties, there's all this stuff, and if you're not betting with DraftKings Sportsbook, you're not doing it right. We will give you guys our picks and preview for the PGA Championship from the DraftKings Sportsbook and their odds, but make sure you use promo code DNVR at sign up. When you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, new customers all can make a $5 hockey playoff bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. We've got Dallas and Vegas, 2 teams that I hate. And then we've got 2 teams that nobody expected to be here in the Eastern Conference. We've got Carolina and we've got the Florida Panthers. Great story. Florida took down Boston. Now they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I hope we get who's your prediction for the Stanley Cup?
Shit, man. I think Florida's just on kind of one of those heaters right now. So I'm going to go Florida-Vegas. And I think Vegas probably gets it done.
All right, so we got a Vegas-Florida. Golden Knights finally get... I kind of wanted an all-expansion Western Conference Final. Seattle-Vegas.
I think Seattle-Vegas would have been electric.
I hate the Dallas Stars. They're just garbage. They're just a grungy garbage team.
Yeah, I fucking hate them.
Not a fan. But a Vegas-Florida championship would be good. I saw this meme.
Southern states.
I saw this meme the other day. It was like all teams that suck at hockey and all teams that are good at hockey, and there was just a line drawn like below Colorado, just a little over Vegas.
Vegas is the highest remaining in the terms of
Closest to the northern hemisphere,
longitude.
if you will.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
It's the highest remaining hockey team. So I forgot what I was going to say there for a second.
Get those hockey bets in at the Draftkings Sportsbook. Download it now. Use promo code DNVR. Make that $5 bet, and you get $150 in free bets instantly. Code DNVR at the Draftkings Sportsbook. All right, the PGA Championship.
The lamest major of the year.
Oh,
it's just the forgotten.
Yeah, it is, because the Masters is the Masters. It is what it is. The best golf tournament. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
The U.S. Open is like, okay, everybody in America gets behind it. It's a tough test. Then you go to the Open Championship, which, you know, it's always at a great golf course that everybody wishes they could play. You've played some of those locations, so shout out to you. If you're a new listener to the pod, Mitchell played I played Whistling Straits. Sorry, had to get that in there. Mitchell's played St. Andrews, the old course,
Muirfield, a few other spots.
Yeah, you know, whatever. It's
not a big deal.
Good for you. But this year it's 10 years since it's been at Oak Hill. Jesus. Oak Hill.
It is easy. They do have some generic names up in the Northeast, and I think Oakmont's in Pennsylvania. Oak Hill is in Rochester, New York.
A lot of oaks up there in the Northeast.
Yep. But the course looks unbelievable.
Yeah. So last player to win at Oak Hill was Jason Duffner back in 2013. Duff Daddy. But they did an entire renovation on the course. So, you know, you look for horses for courses. It is interesting when you look into that for majors. You more try to look at what kind of stats
what kind of games
suit this golf course. I was really dialed in on a guy. I'm going to say it, Tommy Fleetwood. He's not on my card, but if he wins, all of the credit, none of the blame if he doesn't win.
Well, you just found out like an hour ago that he's never won a PGA Tour event.
Which is shocking to me.
He's one of the guys that low-key, like,
he's
almost
10,
overrated.
Top 10 whore?
Because, yes, well, he's a big name. He's a recognizable name. Maybe the Ryder Cup did that for him. But overall, like you said, he hasn't won on the PGA Tour. He's won on the DP World Tour. He's had some good top finishes, but it's tough to bet on a guy to win a major when... And that is the shitty thing, because we do have a lot of first-time major winners. It's just tough to bet on guys that haven't been there and haven't broken through like that.
Yeah, so interesting note about the PGA Championship. 5 of the last 10 winners were listed at starting odds of plus 3,000 or more.
Wow.
So something to keep in mind when you're on the DraftKings Sportsbook and you're looking through players. Half of the last 10 of these plus 3,000 or more. I know Phil Mickelson at Kiawah was like plus 5,000 or 6,000.
That was huge.
A lot. And only 4 players have won the last 6 PGA championships. Can you name those 4 players?
Oh, fuck.
So 2 guys have won twice. 1 guy's won once, and 1 guy's won once. I gave you Phil.
Yeah.
And I'll have an interesting tidbit after we release the other names. Release the hounds. You know this.
Brooks
has won twice.
Yeah. Who else has won twice? 2 PGAs. Oh, fuck.
Who won last year?
Why am I having a brain fart? Justin Thomas.
Yay, there you go. So Justin Thomas has won 2 PGAs. Brooks Koepka's won 2 PGAs. Phil Mickelson won at Kiawah Island.
Can you tell me the other venue?
Harding Park.
Oh, Colin Morikawa.
Yep.
There we
go. Colin
go.
Morikawa puts on a show at Harding Park a couple years ago. So those are the last 6 winners. Hint, one of these might be on my card. But Jason's have a good course or a good track record at the PGA. Jason Duffner, of course, won the last time at Oak Hill. We talked about that. And Jason Day won the 2015 PGA Championship. But like we talked about earlier, Jason Day is not going to be a guy that we are going to lock in on this week. He just won. Winning back-to-back weeks is very hard unless you're Taylor Gooch on LIV, I guess. But it's just not... He's a top 10 maybe here or there.
Yeah.
He's playing good golf. He almost won a couple weeks ago when I did have him on the card. But overall... What was the stat that you were looking at this week? I know for me, it was strokes gained off the tee. This is a 7,200-yard par 70 in New York.
I think it's playing closer to 7,400 yards.
Yeah, I guess.
I looked at the actual scorecard, and it's from the very backs of everything.
Okay, tipping it out.
7,400.
Plates.
Yeah, on the plates, it's 7,400 par 70. Both the par 5s are pretty neutralizing because they're over 600 yards. And... I even went big brain, check the weather. Always got to check the weather. It's not supposed to be that warm.
What's the weather report this week?
The weather report. Ooh, am I a hot weather?
Sending it over to Mitchell Smith for the weather report in Rochester, New York.
Thank you, Jim. So Rochester, luckily they're not starting on Wednesday because Wednesday the high is 53. And if you know what the Northeast is like with the humidity and the wind, that's probably going to feel more like 40.
We're going to have another hoodie-filled PGA Championship.
Right. So Thursday, 64. A little chilly, probably, like not warm. Friday, 77, warmer. Saturday, 64, chance of shower, 70% chance. So another chilly, kind of rainy day. And then Sunday, 73, sunny and perfect. So I think it's going to shape up for a good weather week. But from what I've seen inside of, like, I follow a few coaches who are out at Oak Hill with their players. And this is not a course, like, majors are tough because you can't just flat out overpower it. You have to be long and accurate. Like, where in strokes gained off the tee, I think it's a little skewed into just pure distance off the tee versus, like, you have to hit fairways. Like, Dustin Johnson is the perfect kind of guy for a course like this because he drives it long, but he also drives it very straight.
Yeah, strokes gained. We did do a whole podcast. If you're checking the archives, go back to our podcast with Lou Stagner. But strokes gained off the tee can be a little misleading.
Yeah.
If you're hitting it like 3 or 4 yards off the fairway into the rough, and then still having a very high level of chance of hitting the green. But if you hit it 320 versus 280, you're gaining almost a half a stroke in that area right there.
But this week, you're 4 yards off the green. You may have to lay up on a par 4. So that's where it's kind of the great equalizer. And we don't need to go down like the path of like what makes a golf course a great venue. But making the rough this tall, making it this tough is kind of an equalizer for the guys that don't bomb it. I mean, the lengthy hitter's always going to have the benefit, but that doesn't, especially in a major, it doesn't absolve you of having to hit fairways. You got to hit fairways. You got to be accurate. 17 and 18 are both long par 4s, almost 500 yards. So it's going to be a great finishing stretch. Like, we're not going to see that many birdies down the stretch by any means.
I will say I am a little sad. Par 70 makes me sad, boy.
I know. I love
like
par 5s.
4 par 5s.
Yeah.
It's just standard golf. I love finishing on a par 5. All golf courses should finish on a par 5 is my...
I
That's
agree.
the take I will take to the grave. But
Well, and even I looked at their scorecard, and they have, for the members, off the ladies' tees and like the one back from the ladies' tees, it's actually a par 71 because I think it's like hole 13 or 14 plays as a par 5 for everybody else. So there is plenty of like lengthy par 4s out there that will feel like par 5s. And so honestly, like a lot of like long hitters helps for sure. But even if you're long, you're still going to be hitting mid to maybe a long iron in depending on the wind. So you still got to be able to strike your long irons, control the distance, and try to hit greens. You know, greens in regulation is huge for a tournament like. I just squeaked.
tournament like this.
Tournament like this.
yeah, because the
it's-
rough being so thick, it's not like all the up and down numbers. Obviously, they still matter, but they kind of go out the window on weeks like this.
For sure.
The ball's sitting down 3 inches in the rough. It's not an easy chip if you have a 10-yard chip.
And their new renovation, I don't know if it's always been like this, but I noticed I went through a course overview. Every single green is the old school pushed up green. And there's runoffs from every single green. You know those are going to be super fast. So if you land it 6 inches off the green, it could end up 30 yards away from the green. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of runoff area. There's a lot of thick rough, a lot of bunkering. And it's going to make for a fun week. If you were to throw out your winning score, give me a winning score right now.
I'm going to say 11 under wins the PGA Championship this week.
Okay, I'm going to say 8 under.
Which
I
is
think
a,
it's
a lot more fun for everybody to watch because it compacts the field. If there's guys at 20, 21, 22, you got guys at 16, 15 that aren't even in it.
Yeah.
At 11 under, a guy that's 4 under par, a couple under each day to start.
You can have one really good day and
shoots
make
a 62, 63.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're winning the event.
Yep.
All right, so let's officially give our picks for the 2023 PGA Championship at Oak Hill.
We're either going to clip this for how good it is or how terrible it is.
And you, of course, do this always on the Draftkings Sportsbook app. You want to go ahead?
No,
you want
you
me to
go
go
for
ahead?
it.
All right. So I was going to say Tommy Fleetwood, but I realized he's never won anything. So congrats to Tommy Fleetwood for never winning anything in his life. No, that's kind of messed up. But a few things that I looked for was strokes gained off the tee. I think it's super important that obviously we talked about it, that these guys hit the fairway, and they're still going to have 200 plus in. So one of the stats that I looked at was the ability for guys to hit the green from 200 yards. And third on tour, this is a guy that the number is so crazy. If I hit this, it's going to be obviously a huge, huge, huge dub for me. But the guy I looked at is Gary Woodland, and he's been playing some good golf. He's won a he's won a US Open. So he's won on a big giant field event. Giant field, all the LIV players, everybody here. No, he didn't win it with LIV players, but he's won a major championship before, so he's been there before. He's plus 10,000, and he is plus 750 to top 10. He's 10th in strokes gained overall on tour right now.
Wow.
And that's what's funny about looking at these on tours, because you're taking out 20-ish guys from the LIV Tour that would be on the PGA Tour that might, he could be 15th, 18th, 20th if all these guys were tracking their stats and they had the same stats as the PGA Tour. But Gary Woodland, I think it's just a good pick. I don't necessarily think he can win it, but that's the great thing about the DraftKings Sportsbook app too, is you got a cash out option. So if I have Gary Woodland and he's close to leading it at plus 10,000 on Sunday, maybe cash that out depending upon who else is up there on the leaderboard. But yeah, third on tour in strokes gained, approaching the green at 200 plus yards. So I feel great about that. I feel great about him. He's not a great chipper, but I do feel great about him hitting into the greens. My second pick, I'm going with Mr. Lamo, Mr. Vanilla, Patrick Cantlay, plus 1,600 and plus 180 to top 10. Just solid. He's third overall on tour in strokes gained.
He'll win a major eventually, so I don't think it's a bad bet. Like, he will win one. We just don't know exactly when it's going to be. So
exactly, and hopefully it's this week. I mean, plus 1,600. They're kind of just like they're kind of getting us on the odds here.
That's not a lot of value there. But
no, there's not a lot of value in
I found some value.
Rahm and Scheffler are both plus 700. When have you ever? I've never seen a golf event with DraftKings must be getting
full field. They must be taking a lot of action.
Yeah,
because we know that lines aren't necessarily who they think's going to win. It's who all the money's on, and then who they think all the money's going to be on. So.
Yeah, and then my third pick had to go with a LIV Tour guy. He's won 2 of the last 6 PGAs. Brooks Koepka. He is has the lowest odds of any LIV Tour guy. And to get to the next guy, you'd have to go to Dustin Johnson at 3,000.
Hey, don't take my picks.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying Brooks Koepka at plus 2,000 and then plus 220 to top 10. So those are my picks: Gary Woodland, Brooks Koepka, and Patrick Cantlay.
I like that. Okay. So I didn't do much research. I'm kind of it's just a feel thing for me. I'm just feeling it out. I'm not looking at the numbers. I can tell you one thing. I don't know what the odds are for Xander Schauffele to not win.
Probably pretty large.
Yeah. But he's even... I don't get how he's plus 1,600. He's choked consistently the last 2 years at every big event he's won. I don't know why people love to bet him or they love action on him, whatever. But you can automatically write him out. I think Rory doesn't have a shot either. We can clip that if that becomes good here in a bit. But I don't think Rory's got a shot. He's just... I think if we just keep writing him off, he'll eventually win again, but you can't get lured back into that trap.
He won't even make the cut.
Yeah, he might miss the cut. I am rolling with some plus 3,000 and over, all three. Because in a deep field like this, you're getting better value in guys that are still very, very good. So I'm going Dustin Johnson, plus 3,000 to win, plus 260 top 10. He's played great golf earlier this year on the LIV Tour. I just think that from an odds perspective, they're not giving the LIV Tour guys their respect. So I think we take advantage of that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Dustin Johnson should be plus 3,000. I'm doing it again, and I'm going to keep doing it until he wins something. Cameron Young, he's plus 3,000 also, plus 300 top 10. And This is his
he's the
home
guy
state.
that if he wins this and we're not on him, it'd be a travesty.
Exactly.
So you're taking one for the team this week.
I'm
with
taking
the
one for the
auto bet.
team, and I just love rooting for the dude. Like, he's very fun to watch.
And the 300 top 10, you're making your money back on him specifically, and he's a top 10 machine in majors.
Exactly. And he's from New York. He's not. I mean, Oak Hill is more upstate. He's from like Scarsdale, I want to say, which is more on the Hudson River, but still home state, kind of home cooking. He's got to break through eventually. So Cam Young, and then I'm going with a lot bigger odds. No, I got to do it. We got to take Cam Smith. I've got the Ripper GC hat on, plus 3,500. He's playing great golf too, plus 320 top 10. And if I had another pick, this is not going on my official
Off
card.
the record.
But Joaquin Niemann is plus 7,000 to win. And he's playing great golf. We saw him in person. Maybe I'm drinking a little bit of his Kool-Aid, but the dude is just like unbelievably fit, unbelievably flexible, everything I'm not. Like, I just want to see that guy. And like you said, he's won the Genesis, he's won big events. I think he'll win majors. So Joaquin Niemann plus 7,000 will sprinkle.
So we got half LIV players, half PGA Tour players. We're not going to make the mistake again that we did in the Masters and realize that these guys can't compete. They clearly can.
Yep.
Mickelson was there. Brooks was there. These guys can compete. We're officially LIV boys now, but we are going to get out of here. Appreciate you guys all tuning in. Enjoy the PGA Championship. We'll be live on Sunday as the leaders come down the stretch. Thanks for tuning in. Follow us on all the socials. I am at Big Drive Spence. He is at Big Drive Mitch, at Big Drive Energy Pod on Instagram, at Big Drive Energy on Twitter. We are out going to the Nuggets game. Nuggets up 1-0 on the Lakers as you're listening to this.
Go Nuggies.
Peace.